Do you happen to have a favorite song from the Heights soundtrack?
Yep, I do. My favorite song from the Heights soundtrack, the one that really chokes me up, it's like I almost can't listen to it without crying, is the last song on the album, Friendship, that Alex sang. Primarily because I think it's a great song, and I think that Alex's performance on it is beautiful and sincere, and it was originally the theme song for the show.
Yes, it was, because I remember seeing the first episode, and that was the song. And a lot of people don't know that.
Right, and a lot of people don't know that. They just think it's Talk to an Angel.
Right,
I think if the show ever went, if it's ever rerun again, I think they would use Talk to an Angel for every episode. But I thought that Friendship worked a hell of a lot better than Talk to an Angel. It's a very beautiful piece, and Alex sang it great, and when I think about it, I think about all the, it's like a photo album, that tune, because I think about all the times that we had on the show. That's the song that brings, the experiences of the show closer to home for me. I mean, I immediately get flashes of exchanges that we all had with each other and spending time with each other and, day-to-day life with each other, eating dinner together and hanging out together and laughing and crying and sharing and it was only 13 episodes, but it was a real, beautiful, intense time that we had amongst each other, with each other. And that song crystallizes that more better than any other tune on the record for me, anyway. I mean, I immediately get emotional when I think about it because we all got together in a bar somewhere in Vancouver and watched the pilot episode. And when the credits started rolling, and it was a beautiful series of credits with our pictures sort of fading into each other and in and out of each other and stuff like that, and Alex was singing his heart out, it really was touching. I found it much more than Talk to an Angel. I think they did Talk to an Angel because it was a popular song and they needed to do what they needed to do, but I thought that Friendship and the opening credits were very, very beautiful. So that would be my pick. In terms of just my personal favorite song in terms of having fun was Joanne, because I wrote it. It was one of the first songs I ever wrote. We were all kind of learning how to write songs at the time. We all had guitars and stuff in our apartments, and that was Kenny wrote a song called Avalio, which they changed to Natalie. So
that was my favorite, Natalie.
Yeah, you know what? That was my favorite too because it turned out the best, I think. But in the original demo that Kenny made, he made up a name called, I don't know how to spell it, but it was Avalio. And it was more of a bluegrass thing. It was like double time, and it was kind of quick, and it had a great melody and great words. All the lyrics, I think, were pretty much the same as on the record. And he was the one that wanted his songs in the show more than anybody else. So he was the one that pushed. I was a little apprehensive because I didn't even know if I could write a song. I wasn't sure yet if I was really, I was just learning how to write, and I was a little more scared or intimidated by the whole prospect. And Kenny was like, damn the torpedoes, here's my demo, use one of these songs, please. And they picked this Avalio song. They got rid of the guitars, and they got rid of the up-tempo thing, and this guy named Guy Man Dude, who works with Steve Tyrell, he programmed this beautiful, lush, halftime arrangement that's on the record. And it was on keyboards, and it was gorgeous. I thought it was just gorgeous. And I thought, ooh, Kenny's going to have a really great time singing this. It's going to be beautiful, and he gets to really express himself. And then the producers came to me and they said, you're going to sing it. And I went, oh no, Kenny's going to kill me, because it's his song. And they said, we changed it to Natalie, and it's going to be in the 4th episode, and it's going to be your song, your featured song. And I go, yeah, but Kenny wrote it, and he's going to, throw me off a cliff, and, and are you sure you can't, make it somehow Kenny's song? They go, nope, it's your song, you're going to sing it. And I said, oh, God, okay. So when Kenny found out, he was a little upset, because I know he really wanted to sing that song, because it was his.
Right.
But it ended up being a gorgeous piece of work, I thought. And I was in the studio down in L.A. We flew down to L.A. to record it. We were doing these crazy Canada to L.A. flights to do the album, to record the album, because they wanted an album out by the middle of the year. So we were constantly recording, and I flew down to Los Angeles to record the vocal for Natalie. And Kenny was in the studio at the time because it was his song, and he was he wanted one thing, and I think the producers wanted another thing. So eventually they got, somewhere in between, and I did it in like 1 or 2 passes and stuff like that. And everyone that heard it said, "Oh, that's a great song and great, performance, and it'll be fun to shoot it." And I thought when they used it, I didn't know how they were going to use it yet because I hadn't seen the script, And when I read the script and I realized that they were going to shoot it at the end in this video sequence, it was. I thought it worked very well. And when we went out on the road, that was, my featured. Everyone had a featured song when we were kind of doing what I call the New Kids on the Block thing, where we'd all get up on a stage, and there was a big banner and said the Heights, and we were in front of all these kids in a shopping mall, and police were holding them back, and we all had like 6 microphones flying around saying, "How do you talk to an angel?" with no instruments, and me standing there with no instrument, I completely feel naked, So we would walk around, and then everyone had a solo song. Sean sang something, and then Kenny sang, I think Kenny was the only one that didn't have one. Alex sang one, and then Jamie sang one, and when it came to mine, I sang Natalie. And, the lights would dim, and the spotlight would go on me, and the girls would scream, and so, I guess every girl that was named Natalie showed up that day, and so that was my solo tune. I really enjoyed singing it, for a while. Even when I went on the road with Jamie, when he was doing 90210, when we went to Europe, they were really into the Heights, and a couple of kids would request Natalie, and there was one show where Jamie left the stage, and I actually sang Natalie, and I felt bad about that because I wasn't there to sing my own, or, I was there to support James.
Right.
But yeah, I did Natalie a couple of times, and they really liked it, so, I think that was my favorite in terms of, working on it, that and Joanne. But because Kenny wrote that song, I said, I'm going to write a song with a girl's name. So I wrote Joanne.
That worked.
Yeah, so I got something in there, But when we shot the video for Natalie, I was very uncomfortable being, main guy,
right,
lead singer dude. I'm not like this rock star type of, I don't gravitate towards, flaunting my chest and shaking my ass and stuff like that. Anyway, so I just kind of stood there with the guitar and just was myself, and I tried to be. But it was very uncomfortable to be a video star. I would rather have been in the background. I felt a little more comfortable back then.
Who were some of your inspirations in the music and acting world?
Well, musically, I probably have most eclectic tastes you never want to find, because I'm into so many different kinds of music, and so much is passed my way that I always try to figure out there has to be a connecting thread here, because I listen to everything from Stevie Wonder to James Brown to Black Flag to Stravinsky to and everything in between. I just get very excited about discovering new forms of music that I hadn't heard before that move me. For me, it's all about freshness. It's all about the new element. A new way to express yourself musically. Because once I find a new way that I've never heard before that intrigues me and roots me to the spot, and then I have to know more about it. There's a slew of other artists that do the same thing, but I don't find that as fascinating as the original sort of unique, the guy that broke down the doors and discovered a whole new way. So lately, though, so it changes all the time. I have, my record collection would make you go, oh yeah, you have really good taste in music. Jesus, I can't believe you listen to that. Because for me, it's all about new ways to express emotion, and new ways that you didn't know. That as a musician, for me, has always been my search, and basically, I guess the common thread would be a lot of passion and sincerity, and if you have those two elements, then you really can't go wrong. It doesn't matter, in my eyes anyway, it doesn't matter what kind of music you're playing, as long as you have, the sincerity and the passion, and you're coming from a real honest place. Real honest, like brutally honest. That will immediately, something inside me will just vibrate with that, and I get attracted to it. So it could be Miles Davis or whoever. But right now, I find myself really inspired by, in the past it's been like, obviously the Beatles and the Stones and Led Zeppelin and Bob Dylan, the Replacements and Husker Du, Stevie Wonder, and I mean, it's just billions and billions and billions. But the past, I guess, 10 years, I've been really into, the Beach Boys, the Bad Brains, Tim Buckley, Jeff Buckley, but mostly Tim Buckley. Again, Bob Dylan, and my favorite of all time ever in the history of the universe is Tom Waits. He's just, I don't know why, he's just the guy that does it for me. I mean, he puts me in a place that I can't even describe, so I figure he's doing something right, so I tend to gravitate towards him. So that's pretty much lately who I've been listening to musically and who really inspire me to be creative and whatnot. And then acting-wise, I've just really enjoyed, Rico Colantani, I like him a lot, just from working with him. And, but Marlon Brando, and Robert De Niro, and Al Pacino, the big guys, the main guys. I always like those kind of actors. And, believe it or not, Richard Dreyfuss as an actor. I just found something about him that I find in me, I guess, in a weird way, or that I can sort of, hopefully, there's something in his personality that I see in me a lot. So, but lately I've been getting all this Robert Downey Jr. stuff. Every audition I go on, they go, you know what? If Robert Downey Jr. ever quits the business, you could take his place.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm like, from your lips to God's ears, where can we get this done? Let's work on this right now. So, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I really love Marlon Brando, believe it or not. I mean, vintage Marlon Brando is really inspirational because he's just so pure, of heart. But yeah, Marlon Brando and Aretha Franklin on a desert island, that would be good for me.
Oh, really?
And then a lot of food.
Do you still audition for roles?
Yeah, I still. Oh yeah. It's going to be a while before I stop auditioning for roles. Right now, I'm just another working actor in Los Angeles. What did I do recently? I did a short film called 64 Discs that I don't know if it's going to see the light of day right now, but it's supposed to be on the Sundance Channel coming up soon. And the last thing on television I did was I did an episode of The Huntress. It was on USA Cable, starring Annette O'Toole, and that aired, I think, about 3 weeks ago. And someone wrote me and told me that the show just got canceled.
Oh, great!
So
Tammy sent me an email, and she told me it was on, and that was a pretty strange character you had there.
Oh, did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. I didn't even know until she told me, and I was like, well, I'll check it out. And sure enough, it was on, and I saw you play that nerdy character.
I get good nerdy parts, definitely. People definitely like, they call Dial a nerd, and I show up. That was a fun character because it was kind of like, it was similar to the Lenny character in that he was nerdy but Lenny was just like James Dean compared to this guy. And I remember, I had to go in and get I auditioned for it, and then I got it, and then I had to go in and get fitted for the teeth. And I had no idea how they were going to do the teeth because it said in the script he has big teeth. So I got fitted for the teeth, and they gave me these teeth, and it just stuck like 9 feet out of my face. And when I spoke, I had a lisp, which is what they wanted. But I wasn't lisping purposefully. I couldn't talk any other way with this thing in my mouth. And they slicked my hair down, and I hadn't met anybody in the cast yet. They slicked my hair down, they gave me a little cowlick, and they put the teeth in there, and I just was that guy and completely dorky. And I showed up on the set, and I waved hello to Annette and Jordana, and I met the director, and they were just, everything I said, they just fell over laughing. So I thought, this is going to be a fun character. This is going to be a fun part to do. And I went back to the trailer, and I took the teeth out, and I put my hair back, and I got dressed, and as I was leaving, I saw Jordana, and I waved hello, and she looked at me, and she goes, oh, hi. And she goes, oh my God, I didn't even know that was you. Because she just saw me as the guy. So she had no idea what I looked like, as a normal person. So I thought, this is going to be fun because I get to hide behind all this, kind of stuff. So that turned out to be a lot of fun shoot. But yeah, it was a very strange character. Very, very weird. And they were talking about bringing him back because they thought it would be fun to have, him interact with Annette and Jordana's characters. But apparently the show got canceled.
Oh, I don't know. It kind of reminded me, I guess, of X-Files, if you had the lone gunman, well, you were kind of like the lone gunman character,
right?
Type thing.
Yeah, it was very fun shoot, and the crew is great, and the cast is, really good and tight, and everybody does, they work really quickly. I mean, we only did like 1 or 2 takes for almost everything. So, and everybody just fell over laughing at everything I did, so I figured I was doing something right. So, and they said, oh yeah, we'll bring you back, and it'll be great. And it was a quick, I think I only worked like 3 or 4 days on that. So that was fun. And then, what have I done lately? I just finished doing a play over here in Hollywood, an original play called Benchmarks, and Enrico Colantoni from Just Shoot Me directed it. So that was a lot of fun. He's an amazing person, and I learned a lot working with him, and it was just nice to be in his presence. He was just really cool and really good guy and good director, and so that was we just finished it about a week ago. We just finished the last performance. So yeah, I'm saddled up and ready to go. Taking new headshots Thursday, and my hair's a little longer, and hopefully something will happen. And I play a lot around Los Angeles doing open mics and stuff like that. So hopefully somewhere around December I'll have a full set together, and I can start gigging again and playing and singing, which is my my real kind of first love. Although I've been falling in love with acting again too. So I mean, I go back and forth. It's like having 2 wives. I have to figure out which wife I love more, and then I just end up telling them both I love both of you equally.
So you still keep in contact with Sean? Do you keep in contact with any other cast members?
Well, Jamie and I we toured together for about 2 years, maybe longer than that. So Jamie and I were at a point we were extremely close because we were constantly together. I'd done 90210 the year before he did, and then when he got on 90210, he basically was, I think, what Aaron Spelling wanted was for him to pretty much play the same character he played on The Heights, the guy from the other side of the tracks with the guitar and a handful of songs and whatnot. A variation on that. And he was about to release his solo album. And when he was doing 90210, I was working on the first season of Party of Five, which was a brand new show at that time, and I was recurring on that show. And he asked me when I was finished if I would go on the road with him to support his songs and do these appearances, because he wanted to play. The one thing we couldn't do on our Heights, we did a lot of personal appearances on the Heights singing, but we weren't allowed to play, which always frustrated me, because I thought we can all play and we all jam together. Why won't you let us play? And for some reason or another, the producers or somebody didn't want us to actually go out there and play. We had to go out there with pre-recorded tracks and sing like karaoke. Mm-hmm. And we did shopping malls all across America, thousands and thousands of people. And it was a lot of fun, but I really, felt that if these kids are gonna come this far or whatever, or wait this long, they should see us perform. Not just sing. I mean, because we can all play. And they wouldn't let us do it. And so one of the things Jamie told me, he said, when I do these personal appearances on Untitled, I want to play, and I want to play with you. And I said, okay. So we started going out as a duo, and we would go out on the weekends after we were finished shooting during the week, and then do basically the same thing we did on the Heights, but on a much grander scale, because 90210 is obviously a much bigger show. And we played and sang and just did a little kind of duo thing, which developed into a full band eventually. And then we did like these giant kind of pretty big scale tours of Europe and all over Europe and all over America, and played at all the Six Flags. So I saw Jamie quite a bit. I mean, Jamie and I were always in a hotel room together, always on a plane together, just kind of locked at the hip. I mean, there was a point where I saw Jamie more than probably anybody else in my life, and I know that I was the same way for him. I mean, we were like Batman and Robin at one point, like we were never seen, without each other. So but then when we would get off the road, he would go do his thing and I would go do my thing, and we really wouldn't we would get together and write, obviously, because I worked on both his albums. But we really didn't, I guess because we saw so much of each other on the road, we really didn't see too much of each other when we got home, So, but then we were always going out on the road again, so we were always in constant contact. And Sean, because he lives pretty close to me, I see him quite a bit too. I'll just, he likes to edit. He's an incredible editor and writer and director, and he takes, the most, what would be the word, the least amount of tools and makes these incredible pieces of film, which I think is the key to a really great artist. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of resources, but what he has, he uses them in ways I wouldn't even begin to know where to begin. He's just very, very talented as an editor and as a director and as a writer. So he works a lot. He has an editing bay in his house, and I just go over and watch him edit. So we hang out a lot, and sometimes we'll flip on a Heights episode, and giggle and laugh, and remember things that happened while we were shooting it and stuff like that. Kenny Garrido.
I haven't heard anything from him.
Yeah, Kenny moved. Well, Kenny, after the Heights was over, he went back to New York and started doing theater again, and worked in, I think, some TV, and did a couple of Spike Lee films. He had like Pardon Summer of Sam and another one. I don't remember which one. Clockers, I think it was. And Kenny, actually, for a while, I would, I saw him in New York. I would go to New York, and he lived in Brooklyn, and I would stay with him, while I was there for whatever reasons. He would, let me stay. And so I saw him for a bit, and then we kind of lost touch. But Sean just told me that he just moved out here. He finally took the plunge and decided to move out to L.A. and, because this is really where you need to be if you want to work in television or in film. I mean, you got to be in L.A. This is most of the opportunities are here, and it's just a matter of time before people just wind up being here. So I think he was ready to make a move this year, and he did it. So hopefully we'll get together and see each other. And Alex and I were, Alex was and still is one of my best friends. He's one of the most soulful, timeless people I've ever met. He really is the real deal. He's an old soul, and he's just very, very honest. And it's nice to have someone in your life that's like that. If Alex says something, it's the truth. And he's just one of my best friends. I've always been very, close to him and affectionate. But he's on a show called Becker now, and it's a pretty big success. So I never really get a chance to see him all that much. I went to the taping of the pilot, again, not knowing if it was going to go as a series, because you don't know around when you're taping the pilot. And that was the last I think I saw of him. I think that was the last time I saw him. And the show's been on. They just got picked up for, I think, their third season. So it's been 3 years since I've seen Alex. But we talk every now and then on the phone. When you're working on a series, your life basically is devoted to that. Because, again, like with those hours, and Monday through Friday, you're just blocked, and Saturday, Sunday. If you have other things to do, you want to try to get them done. So it's tough when someone's working to really get together and have a good time. Your schedule just becomes really, really, really cramped. So, but we do talk, and I still love them. So hopefully we'll get together soon. I think the girls I haven't seen at all. I saw Tasia once in New York getting off the bus. That was it. And Cheryl I saw like a year or two after the show went off the air, and we just said hello. And then Charlotte I haven't seen at all. So I have no idea what happened to them.
Well, everybody's been pretty busy after, because Cheryl was on a couple episodes of Melrose Place and Tassia. I looked at her profile on the Internet Movie Database, and she's been on a lot of stuff.
Oh, Cheryl?
And, Tassia?
Tasia.
Yeah, she's been on a lot of different things.
Tasia's always, Tasia works extremely, extremely hard. And, could you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
I'm sorry, Sam, hold on. I'm at the door, but they had the wrong apartment. Tasia, when Tasia got on the show, she came from some soap opera at the time. So did Charlotte. So they work a lot. They're constantly, I think Charlotte was on NYPD Blue for a while.
She still is. Right now, she just started, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
good for her.
Last season she came on.
Yeah, she works hard. So yeah, I try to keep in touch with who I can. I mean, Sean's schedule is kind of more like mine, just a little more free, and so we get to see each other a lot. And Jamie, I have no idea where Jamie is at the moment.
Well, I can tell you.
Oh, tell me.
He's somewhere in California, and he is in a band that he made called Elko.
Is he still in that band?
Apparently, from what one of his fan sites says, which is pretty accurate, they said that he's thinking of having an album come out.
I hope so, because I went to see them at the Viper. They were really good. But I know that the last I heard was that he was training to become a police officer. He had asked me if I would give him a reference for the LAPD, because he always loved cops. He loved the show Cops, and he always wanted to be a cop. And I think he was thinking about it, and I think that's what was going to make him happy. So I don't know if and I said, more power to you, man. Just be careful and don't get killed or whatever.
Right.
But I know he was very much into being a policeman. He was really into it. So that was the last I heard. So I mean, we've just been playing phone tag. So I have no idea if he's over. I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
He's probably busy. Everybody gets busy.
The thing that got me on the show mostly was the music. I loved it.
Me too.
Even before your soundtrack came out, believe it or not, I used to record the episode and then I'd throw the audio from the song onto a cassette so I could listen to it in my car.
Oh, no kidding.
So before the soundtrack ever came out, I had about 5 or 6 songs on a cassette and I listened to it driving down the street.
Wow.
And then it came out and I was like, oh, wow, look at this. A CD and cassette. So that's what turned me onto it. And I found this girl in the Netherlands, and I was like, man, I've been searching for this forever. And she was nice enough to send me the episodes, and that's what I was waiting for, to be able to do the site, because I want to do episode reviews. And
yeah, you want to be...
Yeah, I mean, I could have pictures all day long, but the whole site is about the show, and I need to kind of explain it. So
there's a definite sort of underground for this show. There's a lot of people... It was I guess it was a mild cult. At the time, people loved it. I mean, people that liked the show loved it. It wasn't just like, I watch it and it's okay. The mail that I got and this people on the street that came up to me truly loved it. And if you didn't watch it, you didn't watch it. But if you did watch it, you were really, really into it. And because Melrose Place was being so highly focused on at that time, because it was going to be the new spin-off of 90210, it's hard to think of it that way today. But at the time, no one had seen it yet. I think people were originally so disappointed with it because it didn't really gel until later on. They immediately turned their attention to the Heights. That's what people told me. And they said, your show is so much more realistic than Melrose Place. We watch it every week. We never miss it. And when it got canceled, I got so many letters that people were just heartbroken because they were so into the characters and they were really into the situations that the characters got into, and they wanted to see more of those characters, which I think is, gold with any TV show. That's, I think, the key is when you create vivid characters that people want to see, as opposed to just maybe, cute people that do their thing every week. But I think that if you really I think that any successful show, I think that's really the key. Obviously the writing and the directing, but the characters. I mean, you want to tune in every week to see these people.
Right, yeah.
They become part of your life, and I'm sure that's that way with Friends or, with Seinfeld. I mean, you really want to see or The Simpsons. You really want to see these people every single week, and they become real.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And I think we had that. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too, because I'll tell you what, most of the time I get people coming to my site because they've gone to a Jamie Walters site. Mm-hmm. He has a lot of fans with his music.
Oh, yeah.
They come to mine and they say, hey, I remember that show, I love it. And so you do have a lot of people out there that remember it and did enjoy it just like I did.
Well, one of the best things about the show only running one season, and I don't think that they ever had any reruns in this country anyway, is it takes on this mythic, legendary sort of, reputation, because people who saw it when it ran saw it, but the people that didn't see it at the time they only know what they've heard about it or read about it, and especially Jamie's fans, who, like Tammy, has never seen an episode. Tammy telling us, she's written me many times going, are you going to send me these episodes? And I told her, I promised her, because I go to Sean's house all the time.
I'll have to let her know, because I'll be glad to give them to her, because I didn't realize that she didn't have them. She's
never seen one episode of The Heights, and it has this mythic sort of, reputation, and she's always like, she's like, I heard about it, I've seen, clips from it, And so, because it's not so oversaturated, in a weird kind of backhanded way, it becomes even bigger, you know, because it's like, well, what was it like? And, you know, and I would always want to see it, and, you know, so I think there's more of an interest in it now than there was then, which is always fun, you know, because, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that but maybe VH1 would run the 13 episodes as like a 13-episode miniseries or something, and people can finally see what it was about, you know, because it does have this sort of, you know, mysterious quality to it, because people, if you didn't see it that year, you almost never seen, you know, it's hard, it's probably guaranteed you haven't seen it.
Right, yeah, and back then, I mean, a lot of people weren't even recording it, so it's just by chance that people have all the episodes, so I'm pretty fortunate. I'm so glad that there's so
long. That's because I don't even have all the episodes, and I regret that. I mean, have the 13th episode?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
I guess it must have aired in Europe. Because
that's right, it did air in Europe.
The lady over there managed to get it for me.
That's actually, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember that it kind of closed, or what do you call it?
Yeah, it was kind of like you finally big break. It's called the
Big Stand. You get closure for the show. It's almost like a 13-episode miniseries.
Right.
You know, you just tune in every week, like Roots or something. You know, you tune in every week for 13 weeks, and then that kind of closed up the whole thing because these kids now have a job. They have, you know, their rehearsal space is now a club, and everybody lives happily ever after. And I think that's when I started. Somewhere before that, I started playing guitar in the band because Sean wasn't comfortable playing lead guitar because he's a good guitar player, but he's not comfortable playing solos. And they just thought that that was my job, you know, up until doing the Heights was playing lead guitar. So they shoved me out in front to play lead. Because there was a whole thing about, well, are these guys really playing, or, you know, can they play? And so they figured they'd shove me out there and, I guess, to show everybody that someone, you know, that we're playing. But I remember when we did that musical segment at the end, it was a lot of fun. There was a song called Rearview Mirror that was kind of up-tempo, and we had an actual audience. We weren't just like, you know, rehearsing. We actually had like a bunch of kids in there that were dancing and singing, so that was great fun.
What I'll do is when I get a chance, whatever it's usually about once a month, I'll get a time to go through and do the episode. I'll just shoot you an email and say, hey, I updated the third episode or
definitely,
trivia.
Man.
You can take a look at it.
Because I go on that all the time now, you know, and I show everybody the website. I emailed it to a bunch of my friends in New York, and I was like, check this out. They're like, wow. So it's a big hit.
That's where I'm getting all those hits from.
Yeah, I know. It's just my friends and family. Because the Kinko's right up the street from my house. And I was there one time, and a girl looked. This really freaks me out, because some people when I get recognized now, most of the people know me from 90210. Occasionally they'll know me from Party of Five, because those air on Lifetime and stuff like that. But most of it's like those 90210. I mean, being on 90210 is like running for president.
Yeah.
It's always going to be associated with that, you know. So, then, like I said, that season's always rerunning. So people will look at me and go, were you on 90210? You know. But this world...
But I also did.
Huh?
You can say, but I also did that.
But by the way, it doesn't stop there. Occasionally, though, it's been the Meatloaf movie, too. People look, because the coolest thing about what I dig about being recognized is that most people don't know where they know me from. And that excites me more because it's more mysterious. Whereas if I walk down the street and they went, hey, look, it's, you know, Tom Cruise, or what, I mean, I don't know if that would, you know, hey, Tom Cruise, I know you.
Yeah.
You know, I know what your favorite color is, I know who you're dating. I mean, I think that would be a little crazy. Your underwear is, you know, Hanes, size 18, or whatever. So, but people look at me and they go, were you at my sister's wedding? You know, or do you shop at Gelson's, or where do I know you from? And sometimes, because sometimes they know me from someplace, so I just go down the list, and then eventually they go, are you an actor? And then I say, yeah. But so people always do double takes around me because they don't know where they know me from, and that always cracks me up. I really dig that. But
you tell they're looking at you, but they don't quite.
But they don't quite know. But put it together. I go, I think he knows my brother, or he went out with my sister, or something like that. You know. So, but one time I was at Kinko's, and the girl next to me looked at me, and I could tell she knew where she knew me from. And she looked at me. She said, "Were you on the Heights?" Which sort of blew me away because I mean, you know, very few people recognize me from the Heights. And I said, yeah. She goes, I love that show. I used to watch it every week. I was heartbroken when it got canceled. I loved all the music. I have the soundtrack album, which is out of print now. And I wish they kept it on the air. And I said, me too. So people like that, I do run into people who remember the Heights, who are really into the Heights, who were, avid TV watchers at that time. My new commercial agent was a huge fan of the Heights. And he had no idea I was on it. They signed me without even knowing I was on the Heights. He goes, you've got to get me information. I go, funny you should say that. And I typed up your website. And I go, here's more information than I can even give you.
Really?
So there's definitely, a need or a desire. People are into it. So you're needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're providing a service, no doubt. And I'm sure, the more it's on there, the more people will, if it's available, people will definitely check it out.
Did you appear on a 90210 episode with Jamie doing keyboard work or something?
I ended up appearing, he wanted me to go on 90210 during his season on it to sing with him. And I said I'd love to, but I was on the season before playing, this guy Howard.
Right.
And I think that even though I didn't look like that anymore, I'd cut my hair and lost a little bit of weight, but I thought, it's gonna, I don't know if people will even care if or even put the two and two together, but, there was, I think Priestley said something about, well, we can't have him on because he was on the year before, and we're still running those shows. Like that, my season that I did on 90210 for some bizarre reason is one of the most popular seasons of that show, and it's constantly being rerun. I constantly see it on FX and stuff like that. So because they were rerunning it, I think people like Priestley and other producers had discrepancies about whether or not I should even go on it. And I go, well, you know what? If it makes Jamie comfortable, let's do it, and my hair's short now, and I had a beard, I had a little goatee at the time, and I'll just, wear sunglasses and whatever, disguise myself. So any, really hardcore 90210 fans will get it, but everyone else will probably, probably won't even put the two together. So I went on with him and sang and played guitar, actually, because at the time I was his guitar player. And, I just, he had a band as Ray Pruitt, and I was part of his band. I didn't do it a lot. I think I did it 2 or 3 times. I think when we were doing Why, because the guy who was playing on-screen guitar for him on 90210 couldn't sync up to my vocal on the record. So Jamie said, look, this guy is a loser and he can't really get it together, so can you come on and lip-sync to your vocal? And, being on the Heights, you become an incredible lip-sync artist. You can lip-sync to anything. It was one of the things we had to do on the show. So I said, yeah, I can sync to my vocal, no problem. So I went on and did it, and Priestley, I think, was directing the episode that I did it first, and he said, you can come back, as long as you wear sunglasses and disguise yourself. But even still, Tammy told me later that a bunch of people posted on the 90210 board, why is Howard the drug dealer playing guitar for Ray Pruitt?
Really? Well, that's a devoted fan of the show there.
Yeah, they knew the second I walked on, they go, Howard, the drug dealer, is playing guitar with Ray Pruitt. How'd that happen? Which really blew my mind, because it was a year or two later, or a year later, and I looked totally different, and they knew it.
Well, I just happened to notice it when I saw it, and I always wondered, I was like, that looks like Zachary Throne.
Yep.
Playing in the
band.
Me. You weren't the main shot of the picture, but you were in the background, and I was like, it looks just like him, but, he wasn't one of the person on the credits or anything.
Mm-hmm. No, I did it mainly as a favor to Jamie, because at that time, Jamie and I were constantly touring and on the road and going away on the weekends and stuff like that, and we were really, close and partners. So he asked me to do it, and I checked with the guys at 90210, and they said it was cool, and, they said that I don't think anyone's going to really, be concerned with you, being Howard, even though it happened. But, they were a little concerned that it would throw some kind of weird thing into it, but I promised them I would look as unlike what I did when I was acting on the show.
All right.
So I would just change my appearance as much as I could, and you keep me in the background. You don't really focus on me too much. I don't think anyone's going to put it together. But man, there was an influx of people on the 90210 board saying, "I saw Howard.
Yeah.
You can't hide him from me." It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is.
So, but yeah, I really did it mostly as a favor to Jamie, and I didn't want any credit. I just knew it made him more comfortable if I was. Because shooting musical sequences in a TV show is very long. You have to get all these different angles, and they do each angle one at a time, and they do the whole song. So if you got, particularly on the Heights, if you have 8 people in the band, or 6 people in the band or whatever, you have to get all 6 in one shot, and that's, 1 or 2 takes of a 4 or 5 minute song. Then you have to get each person doing the song by themselves for the duration of the song. So, like, you would have to get Lenny playing the keyboards and singing his backgrounds for the whole song, and you got to get 1 or 2 takes of that. Then you got to get so-and-so, and then you got to get, Dizzy, and you got to get Alex, and so you can imagine how long it takes. And when you do everybody's coverage, you have to, relight everything and move things around, and so it takes a long time to reset up everybody's shot. Hopefully you get it quickly, and you move on. But I mean, by that time you've heard the song like 175 times, so it can get pretty long. But I knew that Jamie wanted some company on the set, and he was, he had some people in the, miming that he really, I don't think he was very close with. So I said, sure, man, I'll hang out with you. Sounds like fun. I wasn't doing anything that day. I thought, sure. Touring. We were a band at that point, and Jamie and I were like, partners. So, and I was doing a lot of work at Steve Tyrell Studios, Steve being Jamie's manager and his music producer. And I was going in there doing vocals for just about almost every project that Steve was working on, like the Brady Bunch movie, both those movies. He did music supervision for those, and I, of course, would come in a lot and work for him to do vocals and sing, and sometimes play instruments. And I did. He did 2 shows called California Dreams, and what was the other one? Maybe that's it. Yeah, California Dreams, I think, was that, and I sang for one of the characters on that show. I just did his singing voice because he didn't know how to sing, I guess. So I was constantly in Steve's studio, like almost around the clock. And Steve was always working on different projects, so when it came time to do Jamie's album, I just happened to be in the studio. And even though I didn't really write anything on it, I did just about, I think, almost every backing vocal on that record, except for maybe 1 or 2 tracks. And, Jamie and I really didn't work together on that album. I just became more of one of Steve's, workers. And so in a weird way, I did more on that album without actually working with Jamie. But Jamie and I were still at that time going out on the road. So sometimes they'd fly us back in from whatever country we were in to just to sing or play guitar or something. So it was pretty hectic. But yeah, it was like really long hours on that. Lots and lots of. I did so many backup vocals I can't even remember. But the first album was fun because there was a song called "Why" that Jamie and I wrote in my room, based on a couple of ideas that we had up in Canada, up in Vancouver, because we were constantly writing and jamming when we were doing the Heights. And so Jamie had this idea, and I had an idea, and I think basically the song is, in a nutshell, the verses are his, and the chorus was mine.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, something like that.
Why
and then,
you telling me I'm not the one I used to be?
Yeah, and the whole thing about why, all the chords and stuff like that were mine. But he came in with the verse chords, and then I said, well, I had this part, and then we just sped it up and combined it together, and then all of a sudden we had a song. We wrote that song in about 10 minutes. It was really quick. He jotted down all the words, it was like the ideal writing situation you want. He jotted down the words in maybe 5 minutes on a piece of cardboard in my room. And we just played it over and over and over again, kept singing it to each other. And the reason I sang that little pre-chorus part is because there was nothing there. We would go to the pre-chorus part, and no one sang anything. So I started singing the first words that came to my mind, which was that. Looking back, I think I was quoting Sean Thompson's song on the Heights record, because I sang something about the man you used to be. And that's the name of his song. But that was the first thing out of my mouth, and it worked, so we just kept it. And then we both sang the chorus, and I threw it in. We 4-tracked it at my house, and when we listened back, I just remember jumping up and down in my room, all excited till there was steam all in my room because it was cold outside, and we were just jumping up and down because we were so excited because we thought it was such a great song. And we played it for Steve, and he loved it. He absolutely loved it and thought it could be, a hit. And he let us. It's the only song on his first album that he let Jamie and I do on our own. We used the drum machine track I recorded, and then I played pretty much all the instruments on it, bass guitar and the solo, and I think Jamie played a rhythm guitar on it. And then Russ Kunkel, the drummer, James Taylor's drummer, came in afterwards and overdubbed his drum track. So the drums were actually out of glass. And that's why that song sounds a little different than the other songs on the record, because it's actual live instruments, and I use my amp that I keep in my storage, you know what I mean, in my house. And we got to record it all on our own with an engineer. Steve had very little to do with that particular recording. But, yeah, they released it as a single in Europe, and it did really well.
Yeah, Jamie's done very well in Europe.
Yeah, very well.
There's a lot of fans that he has over there. And when I look on eBay, because I try and find, like, pictures and whatnot for the Heights so I can get a scan of it and put it on the website. Mm-hmm. And I always do a search of Jamie, and he almost always has CDs or something being sold from somebody on eBay in Europe. So he has a lot of singles, actually. More singles were released over there than I think over here.
Oh, he was huge in Europe. I remember when we first went to Europe, we went to Denmark, I think was the first trip I made with Jamie as just Jamie Walters and company or whatever, because we were in Europe before at the Heights, but just me and Sean. And in Denmark, his 90210 was like a phenomena. And his first album was outplaced Michael Jackson's History album, which blew my mind because Michael Jackson was like, you know, he got knocked out of the #1 spot by Jamie. So when we got wind of that, Steve Tyrell said, we're going to Denmark, like, you know, next week. And we went to Denmark and played a series of shows, of maybe 2 or 3 of them, and the place was just a madhouse. And there were kids that brought Heights stuff, because I thought I was just going to go along for the ride, and I was just going to help support Jamie and be my thing. But everyone kept coming up to me saying, you know, could you sign my Heights thing, and could you sign it as Lenny? And I go, oh my God, you remember? You know? And they're like, oh yeah. And so it was a big thing over there. And then that was, I think, around that time when Steve, his manager, said we got to go to Europe a lot more, because they really are into American television and American artists, and so we were in Spain a lot, and it was really crazy. I mean, I have a couple of videotapes of us opening, believe it or not, for Ricky Martin.
Oh, really?
In '96,
wow.
Before Ricky Martin was even known here. I mean, the last time anyone heard of Ricky Martin was when he was in Menudo, and he was just enormous in Spain. I mean, as big as he is here, he was as big like in Spain. And we were playing for this person who I only remembered from Menudo. So I was like, who the hell's Ricky Martin? Because he sold out this whole auditorium. And we were opening for him, and I go, well, he must be a huge star. And I have some footage of us playing in front of this crazy crowd, and when we did Why, all the people in the front row were singing it in English.
Wow. And
I remember looking at that going, oh my God, they're singing this song that we wrote in my room. Back in L.A. And here we are in Spain, and they're singing it in not their native tongue. So it's really creepy, not creepy, it's really, strange, but really exciting too, because, I don't know, it's just the power of music, I guess. Lady Madonna, what children it's be. Wonder, how managed to make it me. Find some money when you take a ring. Did you think the money was everything? Tuesday afternoon is never ending. Wednesday morning the papers didn't go around. Thursday night the stock and shoe needs empty. See how they listening to the music playing in your head. Listening to the music playing in your head.
You have any plans on releasing an album of your own for music? Or?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
I've been recording my own songs on and off since, actually right after the Heights. I did a 4 or 5 song demo where I re-recorded Joanne, where I played everything, including the drums, that I never really released. I gave it to friends, but I never really actually, put it out. And again, it was like the first batch of tunes that I ever wrote. But things have always kind of distracted me from it. I'd get an acting job, and then all of a sudden I'm doing, a year on 90210, and then or Jamie would call and say, hey man, we're going to go to Brazil, and I go, oh, all right. So I'd have to put my plans on hold. So it's always about timing, but I've still been writing and singing, and I've been gigging a lot, not so frequently, but I do gig around LA quite a bit, doing my own stuff. So, but this year really is when I finally decided, you know what, the timing's right for me to come out of my shell and to start, because you get sucked into doing things for other people,
right?
Like anything else, like like that way in life. And eventually, I'm the kind of person that I have to really physically make time for myself to say, no, it's about me, because if someone calls me and goes, hey man, I got a gig for you and it's $500, you get to play guitar with Joan Jones, and I go, okay. And I'm too quick to do that. And now I'm really kind of just focused on my own career and my own life and my own thing. So yeah, in a long-winded way, like I do, definitely I'm probably by next year I'll have something concrete out. I have a lot of musician friends now, and that want to work with me because I've worked with them and they owe me favors because I worked with them for free. So now I'm coming calling.
Yeah, really.
So I'm sure that I can
cool.
get some studio time and some great players and have something out by next year.
That would be pretty neat to have, like, your if you had your own personal website, you could just say, hey, you want a CD of my songs?
Yeah,
here you go.
That's a great idea. Well, I thought I might make, because Tammy's so into doing the website, or Kathleen, that I would think that maybe they could, do it for me, but because I wouldn't even know where to begin with doing a website, but I'm sure I'd figure it out after a while. But first off, I'd have to have something to promote.
Right, yeah.
So I would definitely have to start working on getting my right. But I mean, Sean Thompson, I don't think a day goes by where he doesn't, at least think about calling me to ask me when the hell I'm going to have my own CD out. And he won't take no for an answer. If I say, well, I got to do this now, I'm doing, this TV show, he goes, no, do it now.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, even David Hasselhoff and Greg Evigan have musical CDs.
Yeah, I know, and I can't be any worse than them.
Well, if it's anything like we saw on the Heights soundtrack, it can't be half bad.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
The next section I have here is just, I'm going to put a little spot on the site and it says Zachary's Favorites.
Cool.
So I guess I'm sure people were curious. I have all your music info here. What about movie? Do you have an all-time favorite movie?
All-time favorite movie? I have two.
Okay.
My first one is Annie Hall, and my second one is The Godfather. Those are, I think, my all-time favorite movies. Oh, and I have a third one, King of Hearts.
King of Hearts.
Which is an old one from the 60s. Those are the three that touch me for some reason.